There's a new kind of Cold War brewing, and it's not being fought with soldiers, but with code. And, a financial shockwave just ripped through the markets, giving us all a huge warning sign. So let's get right into it, because what just happened, it isn't just a headline. It's basically a roadmap for the next 5 years in tech. Okay, so picture this. On March 4th, a day people are now calling Black Tuesday, this was the number that just flashed across every screen in South Korea. Yeah, negative 7.24%. In one single day, the Kospi index just fell off a cliff. A really brutal, shocking drop that completely wiped out months and months of gains. And at the exact same time this number pops up, 1,506. That's how many Korean won it took to buy a single US dollar. Now, to put that in perspective, we haven't seen a number that bad since the absolute bottom of the 2009 global financial crisis. All this foreign money just fled the country, and you could feel the panic setting in. So that brings us to the big question, right? Was this just some random bad day for the market? A temporary blip maybe caused by some instability over in the Middle East? Or, and this is the important part, are these numbers the first tremors of a much, much bigger earthquake? A sign that the whole global order is fundamentally shifting? All right, so think of Black Tuesday as a symptom. It's like a sudden high fever that tells you something much deeper is wrong with the patient. To really get what's coming, we have to first understand why Korea's economy was kind of like the canary in the coal mine here. Well, Korea's economy is built on these pillars that, it turns out, make it super exposed. It's heavily reliant on tech exports. Think Samsung, SK Hynix. It has to import almost all of its energy, and it's incredibly vulnerable when foreign investors get spooked and pull their money out. And they did. Over 5 trillion won bolted in a single day. You put all that together, and you've got yourself a perfect storm. But here's the thing. That financial shock, that was just the effect. To find the real cause, the epicenter of this whole thing, we've got to look at a massive strategic shift that's happening right now in China. Yeah, it's all in the plan, and I'm not talking about some dusty old policy document that no one reads. China's new 15th five-year plan, which, by the way, mentions AI over 50 times, is basically a public declaration of intent. It's their ambition to completely own the next era of tech. It's a blueprint for a whole new world order. And what's really fascinating here is the language they use. If you look at their older plans, the key phrase was technical self-reliance. It was all about catching up, playing defense. But this new plan, the wording is leapfrogging the West. Whoa, this isn't about catching up anymore. This is about taking the lead. It's a huge strategic shift from defense to pure offense. So how are they going to do it? With a strategy they're calling AI+. Now, this is really different from what's happening in the US. While America is focused on building bigger and bigger AI models, the next GPT-5, China is playing a totally different game. They're all about industrial penetration, taking the AI we already have and weaving it into the very fabric of every single industry, manufacturing, logistics, you name it. It's all about breadth and practical application, not just raw power. And this just shows you how incredibly aggressive their timeline is. Look at this. They are not talking about some far-off future. They're aiming for 70% penetration in just a few years, and 90% by the end of this decade. This is happening right now, and man, it is happening fast. So what happens when a giant like China makes a move like this? Well, the inevitable result is that the global tech world, it fractures. It splits. We're not heading towards one big, happy, integrated digital world anymore. Nope, we're heading toward two separate, competing ones. Let's take a look at how this great decoupling, as people are calling it, is already taking shape. It all starts at the very bottom, right? The foundational AI models themselves. They're already splitting along these geopolitical lines. On one side, you've got all the names you know from the US. But on the other, there's this rapidly growing ecosystem out of China, with some seriously powerful new models like DeepSeek's R2 that are already challenging the Western giants on both cost and performance. And that split goes all the way up to the infrastructure layer. The cloud platforms that basically power everything, they're decoupling too. So for a developer, the choice of where you're going to host your application is no longer just a technical decision. It's becoming a choice of which economic block you want to do business in. And for a lot of you watching this, this is probably where it hits home the hardest. The way we distribute apps is fracturing. That world with just a single app store and a single Play Store, that's being challenged by this whole parallel universe of Chinese app marketplaces. This isn't some theory for the future, it's a practical reality you're gonna have to deal with. Okay, so let's bring this down to earth. What does this huge geopolitical shift actually mean for you, the solo dev or the small indie studio? This is where the threats and the opportunities really become crystal clear. First up, let's talk money. In a world where currencies are this volatile, earning in a strong currency like the US dollar becomes a massive, massive advantage. Think about it. That $10 app sale that used to get you 1,300 won, well, now it gets you 1,500 won. Your revenue just jumped by over 15%, and you didn't have to do a single thing. It's like an automatic hedge against all this instability. But that financial boost is only half the story. The other absolute game changer is the crazy leap in productivity we're getting from these new AI coding agents. The barrier to creating really complex software is just crumbling, and that gives individual creators like you some serious leverage. And hey, if you think that's just a bunch of hype, look at this number, $1 billion. That's the projected annual revenue for AI coding assistants from just one company, Anthropic. And that's based on their growth just 6 months after they launched. This is not some niche little tool. This is a market-defining tidal wave. We're talking about individual developers becoming as powerful as entire teams used to be. Okay, deep breath. We've looked at the financial shock, the big geopolitical shift, and the new tools at our disposal. So now let's pull all of that together into a clear, actionable playbook. This is about how to not just survive, but actually thrive in this new era. All right, we got to think in terms of probabilities, right? There's maybe a 20% chance of a real worst-case scenario. I'm talking escalating conflict, total supply chain chaos. Not great. The most likely outcome, though, our base case at around 50%, is a world of continued high volatility and this gradual decoupling. But then, there's also a pretty good 30% chance of a best-case scenario, where this big split actually makes things simpler. It creates really clear markets and just supercharges productivity for anyone who adapts. So here it is, here's your playbook. Step 1, hedge with dollars. That means prioritizing global platforms like the App Store, Steam, itch.io, anywhere you get paid in USD. Step 2, master AI agents. Look, this is non-negotiable. The productivity gains are just too massive to ignore. You have to get on board. And step 3, solidify your global focus. You got to stop trying to be everywhere at once. Make a clear choice. Are you going to navigate the complexities of China, or are you going to double down on the rest of the global market? Pick a side and commit. So if there's one thing you take away from all this, it's this. The very same forces that are creating chaos and risk for all those traditional old-school industries, they're actually creating a powerful tailwind for independent, global-first software creators. Yeah, this instability is a huge threat to the old guard, but for you, it's a massive opportunity. Look, we are living through a tectonic shift. The digital continents are literally breaking apart and reforming right in front of us. And you, as a creator, are in this incredible, unique position to build the bridges and the boats for this brand new world. So the final question I'll leave you with is your code ready to cross that divide?